We're back and we're live. I want to thank Red Roof Franchising for being our production partner on this show. Call Matt Hostetler and the team over there. They'd love to talk to you about their extended stay brand, their soft brand, and also their world famous economy brand. So give Matthew a call. And matter of fact, I'll be talking to Matt at the lodging conference. But before we go there, I want to welcome Bruce Ford back. How are you, Bruce?
Hey, Craig. Great to see you, my friend. Is this the lodging conference preview, or is this Friday night audit, or is this? I'm not really sure. What day is it?
It's not Friday night audit. That'll be tomorrow. And no, this is a lodging conference preview because you've got great information for the attendees. So I thought we'd bat it around a little bit. You could talk about some new developments that may have just recently happened, some information about, little tidbits, taste of what you're going to be doing at the lodging conference, and a couple other things. So,
well, we shall have at it then.
Yes, we will.
And I guess the first thing to say is that we will be part of the stats from the front of the room on the general session on Tuesday morning. My brother JP Ford will be presenting a shortened 3 or 4 slide presentation for about 5 minutes from the front of the room in the General Assembly. And then following that, in the first set of breakout sessions, he will have an expanded review of the new construction pipeline. We're going to be premiering our lodging economic cycle for the first time post-pandemic at the lodging conference, Greg. Really kind of adding up all of the symptoms that affect the industry, from Wall Street debt to Main Street debt, to transaction activity, to new project announcements, really kind of trying to put it all on a piece of paper and compare some history to what is likely to play out into the future. And we finally have enough visibility to be able to do that. So JP will be premiering that on Tuesday morning at the lodging conference. And then I will run a CapEx panel, or a conversion CapEx panel, that will be happening at 2 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. I have some great panelists there, Mr. Vin Patel from Fairview Hotels, as well as one of the senior VPs at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. And we're looking forward to plugging away on kind of what people are thinking about with conversions, which has obviously been a very big part of the story and will continue to be an even bigger part of the story as transaction volume starts to pick up again.
I agree with you. And, my feeling, I could be on target, but I don't want you to give it away if I'm wrong or right. But my feeling is we've got probably 24 months worth of conversions coming up. I think PIPs, capital, various other reasons are going to play into that. And I think if you are looking, to convert over to another flag, you should start having those conversations with your lender now.
Mm-hmm.
They made the loan based on it being A. And if you are, moving down the food chain instead of laterally or up, they might have an issue with that. So,
especially if you're choosing to move down the chain scale and not complete an overhaul of the property in an appropriate amount of time. So in other words, you're choosing the less expensive option,
right,
which will ultimately have an impact on your revenue at the property level. And Craig, you know what the number one driver of conversions is right now? It's truly the fact that we built so many hotels between 2005 and 2009. All of those hotels are reaching that 20-year anniversary.
Right.
And the activity in select service today, it's just changed so much since then.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at the Hampton Inn. A 20-year-old Hampton Inn doesn't look anything like a new Hampton Inn that's built today. And sometimes the changing of that facade and the whole exterior renovation of the building is cost prohibitive in some cases. And so this is why Hilton has now a place for those aged Hampton Inns to go called Spark by Hilton.
Hilton, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the only thing that's going to Spark by Hilton, but certainly it is an in-house conversion, if you will. So some of that is not really talked about frequently, about how much the franchise companies have really built this ladder now of
Yeah.
brands, from the very top at luxury down to, I mean, Hilton's in economy now where they've never been before. Marriott is in mid-scale where they've never been before.
Yeah.
Ladder allows you to go, really from upscale down to mid-scale within the same franchise family and effectively not, quote, lose your business base,
Right.
one of the big franchise companies. So that's appealing to a lot of developers, and certainly investment grade uh, has an impact on that as well. But also with transactions,
Yeah.
is also going to be a big impact because the property is going to be able to be purchased at a discount, I think, even coming into the transaction market in the next 2 years. So buy, renovate, and reposition will be a big story.
I agree. I agree. And yeah, the other thing that happens with this is, okay, let's use your Hampton Inn example. Okay. Now they've got the ability to put a new Hampton Inn in that market. So
Sure, and that Hampton Inn is probably going to be a dual brand project
there you
where they'll
go.
do a Hampton Inn and a Home 2 Suites,
Yeah.
or perhaps a Hilton Garden Inn and a Homewood.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
They're,
makes a
they're,
lot of sense. You and I have both been preaching to the choir that the economies of scale on these dual branded properties are great. So
especially when you put an extended stay brand component into it,
yeah.
because you don't. Sometimes extended stay, is a discount for the long-term stay, if you will. But
Yeah.
if the services are driven by the other select service property that's on site, that's more of a transient type hotel, it can be a real cost savings.
Yeah.
And the shared services can make a huge difference in the type of ownership. So dual brand and or what we call a shared site development are more and more common, because in some cases they're even imploding or taking down the 30-year-old select service hotel that was built on 5 acres and putting 2 hotels on each corner and a restaurant in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's doing much better.
Yep.
Because the A locations for select service ultimately happen because an older property is now retasked.
Right. Yeah. No, couldn't agree more with you, my
And
friend.
even your friends at Red Roof, think about this. So this is
Yeah.
happening too, where they have an aged Red Roof and they're looking for a redevelopment, but the redevelopment comes back as half Red Roof Inn and half Hometown Studios.
Studios, yeah. Yeah. Their
Okay,
prototypes they've got a new prototype. So yeah, absolutely.
and again, we've seen this in independent hotels before, okay,
Yeah.
but now it's really beginning to intrude into the brand and franchise business. And we know why the brand and franchise business is so powerful today is coming out of the other side of the pandemic.
Yeah.
There are so many more loyal members of brand.com, whatever brand it is, at such much higher rate than it was pre-pandemic, because the third-party booking sites are almost out of the daily business, and it continues to shrink.
And yeah, and that's a trend that's gonna continue. I mean, you look at what Marriott's done with Bonvoy and IHG's done with their loyalty programs and all the brands. It behooves you to go directly to the brand to book, and it's the point now where I've got a ton of points with X flag, and I constantly get some really enticing emails about specials and various other things that are worth my time.
Yep.
And I'm appreciating this.
Extra points for booking through brand.com.
Exactly.
I think Marriott's been running a promotion for every reservation that you
Yep.
book. You get 4,000 extra points. I mean, you add that up a couple times, you get a free night.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah,
I like free.
I think we do as business travelers, but again, I'd still love to run a panel that says, how do the owners and management companies feel about that?
Well, yeah, I think you're going to get a different answer there.
That is for sure.
I also think, with what I feel is a legitimate new category, and that's bleisure. That's adding to a lot of the rewards points that are, being given out and also redeemed at this point. You take your significant other, you've got a, you know, Wednesday through Friday, or Wednesday through Thursday, uh, business trip, and you take your significant other with you, spend the weekend there. If it's, it's a desirable sunny area, especially right now with the changing of the seasons, um, it just becomes a better trip. You
Mhm.
can be productive, do your thing, and then have a little downtime as well. So I'm liking all this. I think it's great. I want to ask you a question on JP's panel. Is he also delving into private equity in that panel?
So, in many cases, that's kind of handled by the CBRE, HVS people. But in
Yeah,
terms of lending,
yeah,
okay, he will definitely be talking about um, private equity became a lender
yeah,
for new construction during
yeah.
the pandemic, um, which probably likened us back to the 90s when pension funds and insurance
Right.
companies were lenders in the
Yeah,
hotel business as well. So we saw plenty of that. EB5 was still very active
yeah.
even during the pandemic, but it's kind of begun to change a little bit, and I think we'll see plenty of bankers carrying their business cards around at the lodging conference looking for new opportunities.
I
Um,
certainly hope so. But I mean, our friends over at Peachtree have been doing great. They've put together, a hell of a portfolio of loans just this year alone,
yep,
both in and out of hospitality. And Greg Friedman and his team over there, I've admired them for a long time. They're also a sponsor of the California Lodging Investment Conference, and Keegan Bish is just an absolutely brilliant lender and a pleasure to work with. So um, I'm always interested in what you have to say, but I'm also very interested in what Tim's panel is going to be. So I'm definitely going to have to stop in at both of those without a doubt. What's new on the construction pipeline? Is there anything that's all of a sudden just popped out as kind of an aha moment right now before the lodging conference?
well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the development in resort areas, I think, is what we've talked a little bit about. Those areas that benefited from having more outside space or being seen as more of an outside space destination kind of spot,
Yeah.
they did very well during the pandemic, and the reinvestment and the redevelopment of those areas has been fast and furious. So I think that that's kind of one of the aspects. The second aspect is certainly the brands and franchise companies have continued to announce new projects, and we've almost seen a record pace of announcements where we have a signing with
Yeah.
a future construction date.
Structure. Yeah.
Um, and that is continuing to increase the planning pipeline.
Yeah.
So today, when you look at the construction pipeline, we have over 720,000 rooms in the new construction pipeline in the
Wow.
United States. Only 147,000 of those are actually physically under construction.
Okay.
So that's almost 480,000 rooms of planning, okay, which
Interesting.
is continuing to
Wow.
grow. So that's growing because we have a nice pace of new project announcements, but it's also growing because we have a slow trickle of starts because of the lending environment. So as soon as that starts picking up, you've heard me say that we probably have a 900,000 room pipeline by
Right.
end of 26. I think that's very much in sight, especially if we see a couple more ticks down of the Federal Reserve rate. A half a point at first is going to be a great catalyst,
Right.
but we still need more.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to get construction lending under 7, I think, which is key. And that'll be a trigger for it to get started again.
Yeah. If it gets under 7, that's going to be quite a trigger. Um, what about urban core right now? I mean, are you seeing much in that development pipeline? San
Still a lot of
Francisco.
select service going into urban
Okay.
core that is kind of, I want to say, leveling out the supply.
Yeah.
I think the renovation and conversion market there has another wave to come.
Interesting.
I think a lot of owners have been very busy this year. Urban core operating performance has actually rebounded quite nicely, and
Nicely.
particularly in urban centers that have an active convention center. Um, of course, there's been more meetings and more conventions and more
Right.
activity at the convention center levels than we've seen any time since the beginning of the pandemic. So many of those hotels, if they didn't get the renovation completed, or perhaps did one or two phases, and that third phase will trigger in sometime in 25 or 26.
Okay.
So urban center also is still housing some migrants. I think in New
Right.
York, there's some 30% of the room supply that was open pre-pandemic is now migrant housing. So that is happening everywhere. It's not a subject everybody wants to talk about, but it's certainly part of the landscape today for aged hotels, and as a way to kind of continue to make it an operating property. And so sometimes the brands and franchise companies almost make a deal to walk away,
Yeah.
and that has happened. So we continue to look at that, and we continue to see it. Sometimes it's urban center, often it's urban center, but there's still some inner suburban markets as well. So there's one that's about 10 miles north of Logan Airport was an old 200 room full service hotel that's full of migrants.
Yeah, it's you know, all the top 25 markets, urban, have got issues.
Yep.
We cannot simply pick on California all the time. Okay.
No, we can't. This
You
is
know?
happening everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not a.
And we did not start it. Okay.
That is true. You did not. You dealt with it.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
also those urban centers, if you think about it, it is, a lot of people left the urban core during the
Yeah.
pandemic because they didn't have to go to the office.
Yeah.
Okay. And they didn't have to, and they're still not going back to the office at the rate that, they would have before the pandemic. So this
Right.
is kind of bringing some of that population back to the city in a different way.
Yeah. Now, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We've got several Fortune 500 companies that have mandated their people back into the office as of a drop dead date in January of 2025. So,
well, you know how that's
what
working now, right?
Yeah.
So if you took a job during the pandemic, you were offered remote work.
Yeah.
Okay. So you built your life around that remote work
Right.
with the intention of not necessarily going back to the office.
Yeah.
Now that they're saying, well, you got to come back to the office. Okay. The cycling of employees is a real thing right now.
Yeah.
And people
Very
are
much
saying,
so.
well, if that's what you're going to want me to do, then I'm going to need to go work somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, Craig, I've been a 5-day-a-week guy in my office. I live 10 minutes from my office, so I haven't stopped coming.
Yes,
But
you do. I've been there. So,
we have staff that are 2 and 3 days a week.
yeah.
And, I just find it more efficient to have my assistant at my, close by, and a little bit more efficient to work together. And of course, as partners with my two brothers, that also makes an impact that we can be together at the office. So it's nothing more creative than bouncing information off of each other and being able to get to it a little bit quicker, because the longest way around the barn sometimes is to have to pick up the phone and disrupt not only your own day, but their day too. Whereas you just stop by their office, knock on the door, and knock the question out. So I still see all the benefits of that. Okay, I can't fight City Hall, if you will, as people want to have some flexibility, and we've all faced that, and we all need that as kind of part of our wellness, which is a bigger thing now. Okay, my wellness is that a couple days a week I'd rather wake up and just start work when I can,
Right.
versus having to deal with the commute back and forth, if you will.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I personally, if you're in the office 3 days a week, I'm good with that. Now I think you've got to determine a pattern for everybody. Otherwise people are going to take Mondays and Fridays and not come in. Okay. And as well as I do, over the weekends, that's when every disaster imaginable happens at a hotel. So the executive team has to be in the office on Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you want to take now, when I was with,
Well, that's when sales meetings happen too, Craig.
yeah,
Many
typically.
cases.
Yeah. But when I was working for this one management group, during the summer, because we had a lot of people that had small children and all that, and daycare was and still is a huge issue. We left it up to them to be the responsible adult. Do you need to come in half day, or can you work all from your house that day? So, and again, that was for the summertime. So that was a special thing. And, most everybody, really appreciated that. And
Or summer
they ended up working
Fridays where
hard.
the office closes at 12. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
summer Fridays is another thing but flexibility is key. And
Yeah.
in this environment that we're in, I think it's still a big part of the hiring process. And I
Yeah.
think, as I've said to you multiple times, both on the show and personally, I really do feel like the people that are willing to go out and do the hand-to-hand sales and travel more are going to get a different level of compensation going forward than the people who prefer to sit back and work from home.
I
And
agree.
there will be some separation there, and
Yeah.
it will be more of a canyon than it's been before. So
Definitely.
without question, the people that are willing to put themselves out there and continue to do the in-person sales, they will get a higher rate of compensation.
Absolutely.
So next week, Craig, we're going for in-person sales training 101 at the lodging conference.
There
right?
we go. There we go. And that was a great segue. So, what are your top 3 items that you're looking forward to at the lodging conference?
Well, to wish Harry and Liz Javer a happy New Year. Let's do that first, right? It's Rosh Hashanah today.
That's right. Happy
Mr.
New Year.
Hausman as well.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for people's smile to be on.
Yeah.
I have found that over the past few years, sometimes people go to a conference and they're just in a bad mood because business is tough.
Yeah.
Okay. And business is tough.
It is
Okay.
tough. Yeah.
But the last 30 days have been a real eye opener as to the future potential. We saw some immediate transaction announcements as a result of, the point drop with Blackstone selling G6.
Yep.
And Hyatt closing on the Standard transaction this week. I expect we're going to have some announcements about some more things coming soon to a theater near you.
Including a couple of new brands, I'll bet.
Yeah. It's probably, I think from creating a new brand, it never stops, but I think it's going to slow a little bit. If I was to say one trend, I think we got enough now. It's 643. I think we got enough.
I think we've hit critical mass.
But so I'm looking for transactions, but I'm also assessing that people are going to look for potentially, trading in the job they did during the pandemic for a new one.
Yeah.
We all have both several friends in professional services in the hospitality industry that are moving careers, looking for something else.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of change, but also there's some trimming too, as companies are looking to pop out of 2025 ready for the next phase.
Yep.
And, I think there'll be a little bit of that too. So the desert sunshine, going outside and lighting on fire, not my favorite thing at the lodging conference. Average temperature next week, is supposed to be 105.
Yeah.
Harry told me, I said, Harry, why are we moving to October? He said, well, it's not going to be 100 degrees. I said, ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha.
That's funny.
It's still going to be 100 degrees, Harry.
Yeah.
But we'll come anyway. Okay.
Exactly. But it's a dry heat. Okay. It's a dry heat.
Yeah. It's still on fire. Dry or wet.
There you go. There you go.
Craig, it will be great to see you next week. It's been a hot minute.
It has been
since we were together. So I'm looking forward to that, of course. And We'll get you out of dreary California. It didn't look too nice today.
No,
A little
no, it's
cloudy.
overcast and a little bit on the cool side. I've had a sweatshirt on all morning. So,
Okay. Well,
but
it's 72 and brilliant blue skies and a beautiful
nice.
fall day here in New England. So
I love it.
we have had a little bit of an early fall with a lot of leaves changing, and it's a beautiful time to be in northern New England right now.
There
So
we
I'll
go.
just go get on the road for 2 weeks, and I'll catch you all later.
There
As
you go.
I'm going to the lodging conference, and then I am off to Singapore to go to High Cap, and the first time
Wow.
I've been back to Asia since 2019. So I will be in
Been a
Singapore the
while.
following week. Yeah,
There you
has
go.
been a bit. So I'm excited to get back on the road and go see some more clients and go find some new ones.
There you
That's
go.
the goal, right?
Hey, always be learning, always be closing, and always be finding new clients. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, one of the things that I'm looking forward to at the lodging conference is the lazy river. Okay.
Who
Harry
is
and I came in dead last by design. All right.
okay?
Now, I am relinquishing my spot and my title. Glenn Hausman is taking my place because I won't be there on Sunday. I will be there on Monday. So, you'll have to gauge and let me know how he does, because if he doesn't come in dead last, then he's blown it. But
Well, he'll be hiding behind his sunglasses and his margarita.
that's Hollywood Glenn.
That's Hollywood Glenn coming to the desert.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. So also, I'm looking forward to your part of the conference, your brothers, the general sessions, seeing everybody. And also, we will be doing CLIC Live from the lodging conference. So find me, let's get an interview in, and we'll enjoy that. And then Bruce, finally, March 2025, we're back. Bruce was the one that coined the Magic 8 Ball for our logo. So thank you very much for that. Don't leave your decisions to the Magic 8 Ball, but come to the 8th Annual California Lodging Investment Conference. We've got a new home. We're at the Westin in Long Beach. So you can fly directly into Long Beach. We've also got a lodging conference special going on right now, $250 discount if you use promo code TLC, and that expires on October 13th. Then we go to our early bird rate. So
that's very generous of Harry.
It was. Yes. So, well, they're a sponsor of CLIC, so it's we're giving them a little extra credit here. So
excellent.
But my friend, can't wait to see you. Thank you for joining me today on CLIC Live. We've got 2 new episodes out of CLIC Connect that the second one just dropped earlier this morning. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, besides LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms. So, Bruce, I'm going to start the exit, and we are out of here. I will see you next week.
Field goal.